Let's go.
Oh, I was on mute. How am I on mute? Hello, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm here with Dan and hopefully Martin. I don't know if he's having his technical issues again, but we'll get him into the chat. Martin, how are you doing, mate? Are you with us?
Yeah, I think I'm here. I'm just having a bit of difficulties on my screen, even though you sound great. But me, I'm vegetating slowly on my screen, but I think I'm speaking okay.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. And as you know, Tuesday night is Fans Forum night. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We've got Dan, aka at the Villa Home. We've got Martin, aka the Emerald Lion. Changed his name on social media. So do get following those boys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to cover the last month with Aston Villa because it has been a phenomenal month for Villa. I think we can all agree. We're going to talk the Bournemouth battering, and we're going to talk the Morgan Rogers new contract. And we haven't had a chance to reflect on this show 3 years of Unai Emery. So we're going to talk about that. So I want to get your thoughts in. I want to get your comments in on all of those subjects and anything else you want us to cover. So please do get your comments in on the show. But where do we start, boys? Let's reflect on Sunday's game, and we'll start with you, Dan, because I believe you were there with your trusty camera as always as well. I think you captured some brilliant pictures. What did you make of the performance, and was it a performance that you were expecting from Aston Villa against, potentially tough opposition in Bournemouth?
To be fair, I was thinking about this before coming on tonight. I think that on Sunday was probably our most complete performance of the season in terms of we looked a real threat going forward. 4 goals, 4 different goal scorers. Probably could have been more. Looked very good at the back again, and that was probably the Villa performance and. I suppose Villa performance and side that we expected we were going to start the season like, and when we couldn't create anything, we were thinking, well, this is the same squad that we had last year. So, yeah, it was probably the first real performance this season, I thought, but everything really clicked. Yes, we played well against Man City, but in terms of how much we created and what have you, I think it was a really good performance against what, as you say, what could have been a tricky opponent in Bournemouth, who, yes, they might not have done too well away from home, but I have been impressed with the Bournemouth sides under Iraola, and they still had they've got a lot of attacking potential in like Kluivert, Semenyo, and Krupa, who came off the bench. So there weren't any mugs, but I think we, even looking at some of the Bournemouth sort of fan stuff and YouTube channels and what have you, they sort of admitted they were completely outclassed. So a really good performance. Yeah,
100%. And I think what Villa did so well, Martin, was, and me and George reflected on this we did a bit of an instant reaction, Rich Reacts special, because I had to just jump on straight after the game, to be fair, mate. But we were reflecting on the fact that it seems strange that we kind of beat Bournemouth at Bournemouth's own game. Like, for that, we kind of had that in the away performance against Bournemouth, certainly before we scored. But to see Villa in that midfield, like winning second balls, smashing into challenges, Onana just powering through, McGinn, just pinning that true fair and just taking him out the game. it was just great to see us showing our physical strength against a team that is renowned for pressing and being so intense.
Well, look, truth be told, I didn't watch it live because I happened to be at the Shamrock Rovers and Cork City.
You were,
final.
yes, you were, yes.
And obviously, I put my picture in, and I had a great view, great seats, and literally by the halfway line, Shamrock Rovers thankfully won 2-0 and done the double here in Ireland. I know some of you won't care less, but me personally, forget about it. I was loving my life. But back to Villa, when I got back to my girlfriend's house, I managed to decide to watch myself a full 90-minute highlight because I had it on record, thankfully. And when I was watching it, first half, I was just thinking, wow, like we are playing unbelievable. And for me, the one who was making a tick, and I know I keep repeating this player, was Emery Buendia. The way he was getting the balls, the quick decision, the sharpness, the tenacity without having the ball. And it just kind of raised everyone else's game. Like Onana was incredible in midfield. Kamara looked immense as well. For me, this game was always going to come down to a midfield battle. And Villa, thankfully, came out on top. And when you touch on the fact that we beat Bournemouth in their own game, you are correct in a way, but you've also got two managers in Emery and Iriola from the Basque County of Spain playing similar systems. So it's about then the difference in quality in their players when you have systems coming up against each other of nearly similar type and stature. So when that comes up against each other, it then comes down to the quality of players. It then comes down to who wants it more. And thankfully, it was Villa who wanted it more in that midfield battle. And then when we got to the second half, yes, we were riding the storm a little bit. 2-0 is always a very dangerous lead in football, as many fans will tell you. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, whether it's from Sunday League all the way to the top of the Premier League. 2-0 at halftime is always very dangerous because you're expecting the opposition to come out guns blazing and trying to get one back early and get any sort of momentum. And thankfully, we contained it. Now, when we gave the penalty away, I'm pretty sure, like myself and most Villa fans, were like, oh, here we go. But, Semi Martinez makes a big save. Probably does the world of good for his confidence, hopefully going forward now for after the international breaks. I don't think you got a call up if I'm correct due to the fact
I think they said he can rest, yeah,
just to give him some rest, which I think will do him the world of good, to be honest with you, because the amount of games he's been playing, the confidence level isn't there from him, I don't think, probably through all the saga that he had all summer. But the game there on Sunday, he really showed his talent of why he is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And then thankfully, we get 2 goals late on in the second half, just to kind of really seal the 3 points and put us into 6th position before the international break. Now, to put that in comparison from the last international break, we were sitting 18th in the league. Now we're sitting 6th above Liverpool, who were top of the league. Man United now as well, who are sitting in around position where we are. We've now overtaken that. And if we can keep that momentum going and going and going, don't tell me the sky's the limit, because people, there's footsteps on the moon.
Hey, starting to sound like Kev here, Martin. It's starting to sound like Kev.
Someone has to take the mantle while he's gone. Someone has to take the mantle while he's gone, and it's going to be me.
I'm definitely going to have to try and coin that phrase. That you're going to have to remind me of that later on, Mark. That there's footsteps on the moon. I'm going to have to use that at some point.
There you go, mate. There you go. Good stuff.
Use it all you want. Use it all you want.
Question on, you mentioned about Martinez, coming to you, Dan. Was it a redemption for Martinez? Yes or no? And we'll come to some comments in a second on it. But that penalty save, that save from the deflected shot from Alex Scott as well. What an unbelievable save that was. And fans singing his name again. Is that everything? Is that everything now? All forgiven?
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole fans forum thing on the summer, and he was going and what have you. He's a Villa player, so that sort of I think a lot of people got over it, but I think, speaking to a few people around me, I think he rectified his mishap at Anfield the week before. I would sort of forget what happened in the summer. He's a Villa player. I think what he did at the weekend, sort of people forgot about the Ballon d'Or-esque pass to Salah, which I'm now reminding everyone who's watching this about, I'm afraid. But yeah, he that was sort of the Emi Martinez that got him the Yashin trophies, as you say. That I think when you watch the penalty save back and the replays, it was actually a very good penalty. And the commentators were saying it was going into the side netting, and you can see, although Martinez went the right way, he still had to claw it out from pretty much behind him. But yeah, the save from Alex Scott, I think. Yeah, well, there are so many things that you could say that you don't expect Martinez to save, and he still makes the save. But yeah, it was a hell of a save.
Yeah, just some comments about it. The way Martinez whipped up the whole 10, booing and hissing at the penalty taker was insane. Definitely made the difference. I was going to say that, Kev. That was brilliant. That was, and you kind of knew he'd save it. You just, as soon as it took a bit more time, as soon as Emi Martinez gets his sort of presence felt, makes his presence felt, as soon as the fans are getting going. And then as soon as Semenyo stuttered that run up, you knew he was saving it. And it's almost like he saved it before he's even taken the kick, which is fantastic. But yeah, Rod says, I forgive Emi Martinez for the summer. I still think he'll be off in January, but he was excellent. And Man with the Golden Gun says, not forgiven, but definitely back in my good books. Rich says, I have zero issue with Martinez. Didn't have to be forgiven for anything as far as I'm concerned. So, I think people just, generally people are happy. Michael said definitely redemption for Martinez. Absolutely made the difference between smashing them and what could have been a very nervy 90 minutes. And I think it was definitely one of the big turning points in the game, Martin. And football is so much about moments, isn't it? You had the free kick on the edge of the box for Bournemouth that was blazed wide. Then literally 2 minutes later, Emi Buendia is putting it in the net. Then you have the penalty, the penalty save. Yes, that moment, and then you also have the substitutions that Aston Villa are able to make were absolutely key. So many moments that Unai Emery is all about control, and so many moments that Villa were able to control to get that victory.
Yeah, just with Emi Martinez, for me, I'm a bit 50-50. Yes, it was a great performance, and I absolutely love his performance, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I still get this feeling in the back of my head that I can't really forgive him in the summer, because due to the nature of he wasn't exactly the first choice keeper that Man United wanted to sign, and I think for him not to play and really try and force a move, for me it's a bit petty, because if you're one of the best goalkeepers in the world, your instant reaction would be, well, if I'm not first choice, well, I don't want to know about you, because I'm better than the keeper than you're looking at. Any club, forget about Man United, if it was Arsenal, Liverpool, anywhere in Spain with Madrid, Barca, any of them clubs, like, if I'm not your first choice target, don't talk to me. Don't make me the second choice, because I've got 2 Aston trophies, I've 2 FIFA Best Keeper awards, I'm a World Cup winner. Like, he's got 5 things, and there's the full hand. 5 things to say why he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world at this minute. Yes, you could come around and say probably the last 18 months or so, his performance levels weren't great. But when you put into context of what he actually has throughout his career since he's come to Aston Villa, his game is elevated so much under Emery, obviously under Argentina with the influence that he has there. And if he's not a first choice for someone in the transfer window, then you shouldn't really be talking to him, because if he is that good, he should be your first choice. It's one of them simple things. Yes, you might have other goalkeepers along that list, but if it's someone who's unknown in the Belgian league, I'm not taking anything away from him, he's actually doing very well since he's come into the Premier League. But when you look at the difference in the goalkeepers, Martinez should have been your first choice, and that man should have been there in case you could get the bigger target, not get the big target and second, and then get this little fella that's trying to come through. That shouldn't be the case for me. But he has put in a good performance. The crowd really did lift him, and I can't take it away. It's going to take a bit more for me to forgive him. Yes, it was a great penalty save, and I don't want to fall into this fickle fan base and be like, yeah, all's forgiven now. We forgive him. That's it. Over with. Now, for me, it's still there. He still made his bed. He has to be prepared to lie in it, and now he has to make his bed again to make sure that he is making up for it. One good performance, one good penalty save isn't going to do it for me. Has to be a couple more from here.
Yeah, I think as well. I think he's starting to whether we matter or not in terms of trust and all that kind of stuff. But I think certainly in terms of the dressing room, I think it'll start to sort of build some bridges and really start to have an effect. And, it's kind of that mistake against Liverpool, the coming in on Thursday. I think George mentioned this as well, coming in on a Thursday, getting a clean sheet on Thursday, sort of wiping out that Liverpool mistake out of his mind a little bit more. And then the performance to get against Bournemouth on Sunday kind of just gets that all out of the way. But yeah, great win. Some really good performances. I will touch on some of the players that I think when we reflect on this last month of football, I think we'll reflect on a couple of the players. And you've already mentioned one of them in terms of Emery Buendia, Martin, but we'll come back to him in a little while. But I just wanted to discuss, before sort of talking about individual player performances and what's happened on that front. Just this month of October, moving into November. I mean, Dan, if we go back to the last international break, I think we'd managed to beat Fulham and Burnley, I think, before that international break. So things were starting on the right trajectory, easy for you to say. But I think we were at like 9 points from 7 games. And we were like, do you know what? That's still pretty much below par for the standard of opposition that we'd faced. And to be honest, we were saying if we could get 7 points and 2 victories from the Europa League games, we'd be happy. We obviously didn't win against Go Ahead Eagles, but we got 9 points from the 4 games in this little run. And is it 5 wins out of 6 or 6 wins out of 7 in the Premier League? 5 wins out of 6. I don't think you could have asked for much better, could you? Really, if you think about it.
No, I think, and I know people will probably say, "Oh, well, Tottenham aren't all that, and Man City aren't as good, and etc." But you can only play the teams that's put in front of you, whether they're in good form or not. And actually, if you said even before the start of this season, we're going to have a run of Tottenham away, City at home, Liverpool away, and okay, most people would have said, yeah, Bournemouth, that we'd expect to win that. But even those 3 games, Tottenham away, City at home, and Liverpool away, if on their day we could have picked up no points from those three games, or we could have picked up 9, but actually to pick up 6 from those 3 and then pick up the win against Bournemouth, I think is a great return. And as Martin was saying, we sort of put ourselves back in the, I wouldn't say in the mix for European football, because there's 27 games left to go, but I think it's so open this year that the league, and I know Arsenal are, well, they're 4 points here, I think, but they've not.
Yeah.
They've not exactly. I wouldn't say they've played superbly in all of their games to be where they are. And I know football is not played on paper, and it's always a game of ifs and buts. But actually, if we'd have converted sort of the Newcastle draw at home, or hadn't lost to Brentford, you'd possibly looking at another 4 points, and then we're sitting 3 points off the top of the league. And after what realistically the first 4 games, people there were silly rumours on Twitter going, yeah, Emery's out with depth now. We've and I know we'll go on to Emery, but sort of people were sort of questioning: have we got the right squad? Have we got the right players? Have we got a plan B? So yeah, to come out of this little mini run between the international breaks with 9 points is a great return, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Martin, to be at one point, I think we were sort of 18th maybe, and then to flip it round to now be, like you said before, 6th. I know we keep saying, I know it's really tight in there, but to be sort of go from a situation where we were on sort of, before that Burnley game, what were we on? Before the Fulham game, sorry, what were we on? 2 points or 3 points? and then 3 points, I believe, 3 draws. To be now on 18 points after, you know, some pretty tough games. I think a good point from Western. You know, we weren't saying that Spurs were a poor side until after we played them, because, you know, they've still had a pretty decent start to the season. They're not great at home, but, you know, to now sit on the 18 points and kind of be a bit frustrated with the way that we played against Liverpool, because it kind of feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, only because we maybe didn't quite get the tactics right. It's a hell of a spot to be in right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely hell of a spot to be in. But this is what international break kind of does to you, Rich. Like, it either works in your favour or it doesn't. Like, for us, before we got to the September international break, wasn't exactly working out. We reset. We looked at all our options. Players come back from injury all at the right time during the international break. The rhythm really got good for us, and we've kept that momentum going up now to this international break that's here. But when you look at other teams, such as the Liverpools, Tottenhams, were doing well before the international break, then all of a sudden, now they're not looking so good, because this is what happens between the month of August to November. Teams' rhythms always get affected like this. And right now the league is so tight because teams are trying to play catch up, whereas teams are overperforming. Sunderland being one of them, in my opinion, right now, who are overperforming and they're doing very well. It's always from November to March, when there's no international break, is when you actually start to see who's the top of the pile, who's in the middle, and who's in the bottom, because there's no international break. So rhythm is constantly at a flow. And even if you get a game there midweek because you've had Champions League or whatever, because you're playing a catch-up, the game's in hand, but there's still no international break. There's still no stop-start. It's when you get to March, April, obviously then the Euros will be happening. That's when rhythm will get affected a little bit in terms of title races, European races. But that Christmas stretch and after Christmas, rhythm is at its peak. So for Villa, they really need to keep the rhythm going, because if they don't keep the rhythm going, you're going to see yourselves falling behind, dipping into the January transfer window and trying to play catch up again. That's not a position we would want to be in. Right now, we're in a good spot. The squad depth is absolutely incredible. We've seen on the weekend how having a strong bench can really lift our levels up, because levels don't exactly drop. So for us now, we need to keep the rhythm going after this international break, because you've got such a long time till the next one. Plus, I'm an Irish fan. I want this international break to be done yesterday. So for me, I need Villa right now.
Yeah. No, you're right in what you're saying about, you know, that sort of situation where teams have a great start and then an international break comes in and then they kind of fall off a bit, and then the next break and then they might recover, and vice versa with other teams. You know, have a dodgy start and then, you know, Villa have kind of built up, haven't they? They had a poor start, then that first international break, then they kind of managed to get a couple of wins under the belt, and then after this international break, we've really kind of kicked on. But just on that, Dan, with regards to kind of looking ahead slightly, you know, it's Leeds and then Wolves after that international break. Obviously, 2 teams that really do need a win, but 2 teams that Villa would be looking at and to pick up points against. But how do we kind of guard against sort of that losing that rhythm after the international break?
I think you both alluded to it a bit earlier on, where, as you say, momentum is key, and everyone, no matter whether you're watching football in 2025 or in the 80s, will always say December is a big month, because you always got that sort of extra 2 or 3 games. I think is it something like 6 games in December we've got league games or something like that. So again, December's if you win 4 of your games in December, that also really puts you in the mix. So yeah, in terms of momentum, it's key. But I think we're at a stage now where the likes of Tielemans is coming back. I did joke with the guy next to me. Did joke. He said when he came on against Tel Aviv, he said, "You watch Tielemans get get called up for the Belgian squad, and I think he played like 13 minutes, and then a day later it was like Yuri Tielemans has been called up to the Belgian.
I know, and Onana, and it's like one player who's just come back to fitness, so we don't really want to go, and then another player who's just getting into a rhythm, and you just don't want him to go either. Like.
But I mean, touch wood, everyone comes back from international duty injury free, but we're getting back to a stage now where you look at the bench at the weekend. It was really strong options off the bench. And I think Emery's always said, I don't have a starting 11. It's a squad game. So people have got to be prepared to drop out and come back in. But I think we're at a point now where, yes, momentum is really key, but actually the squad depth, which I think, again, pundits have started to say, well, I know Chelsea have got however many 100 players, but actually they don't have great squad depth. And obviously with the Club World Cup, their players are sort of dropping like flies. But there's quite a few teams that are sort of that top half where there isn't maybe the squad depth that we have, which is something I didn't think I'd be saying that Villa have got great squad depth probably 3 or 4 years ago, because you had your guaranteed 11 and then you knew what subs were going to come off the bench on the 75th minute. Whereas at the moment there's so many options. So yeah, in terms of momentum, it's massive. And as you say, I've just got a few of the games ahead. Leeds away, Wolves at home, Brighton away, Arsenal at home, and West Ham away. That takes us up to the middle of December. So yes, there are some slightly again, Leeds at Ellen Road, that's never an easy fixture, but again, you sort of want to be looking at maybe Wolves and Leeds as there's some games to pick up points, but again, Brighton, it's like chalk and cheese. We could turn up against Brighton and do what we did at Villa Park, but then Brighton have been playing some really nice football, so that's a tricky one. Arsenal at home, you don't want to lose. Well, I saw some mad stat, we've lost one in 28, I think, at Villa Park, and that loss. This is in the league, and that's Crystal Palace. So you don't want to sort of, again, you back us at home, but again, Arsenal. So there's lots of those games coming up where you want to continue that momentum, and every optimistic fan is going to go, well, we'll beat them. Oh, we're going to get 18 points in the next game. I think momentum is
league title charge then, mate.
Yeah, so momentum's key, but I think we've got the squad now to be able to really keep that momentum going without actually sort of reducing our levels across the squad.
Yeah, no, the squad is incredibly important, and like you said, no injuries across this international break is absolutely vital. And I think some of the players who haven't been selected for international duty to kind of get away from it, have a bit of a break, and just get back and come back refreshed to be really good as well. There's loads of people arguing in the chat about John Duran and Ollie Watkins and what we're missing. We're not discussing Watkins tonight. We're not discussing him. We've done that so many times over the last couple of weeks. We're not doing it. But make sure you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you are in the chat. We're on X and we're on YouTube, so please do like, subscribe, and follow the boys at Emerald Lion 1874, at the Villa Home, and at Villa Park Pod. And as I mentioned before, please do help us on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We're getting very close to 6,200. So please do like, subscribe if you are new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet. Martin, I want to discuss this last month, and I want to reflect on probably a couple of players that I think most Aston Villa supporters would not have had as their key players across this month, and also across this season, as being up there with Villa's best players. Both of those are Emi Buendia, as you mentioned earlier, and he's got 3 goals in 5 games. He's mixing up his game. He's got that scrappiness about him. He's using his body well in the right areas. He's not trying to get into physical fights with people. He's releasing the ball quickly. He's just doing everything that I think Unai Emery has wanted him to do. and it's seeing and it's bearing fruit. It's giving the results, and he's giving a bit of impetus to Aston Villa as well going forward. And he was kind of the inspiration in that Fulham game for getting us moving. And then the second player is Matty Cash, right back. And I've said it before, if you give him one job to do and you say, right, just defend, or if you give him a job and say, go and attack and don't worry about your defensive duties, he'll do it fine. If you give him two jobs to do or multiple tasks to do, that's where he struggles. But this season, at this moment in time, he is able to do the 1v1 defending. He's able to shut out his wingers. He's able to get forward and support the attack. And he's also chipping in with goals as well. So I don't think any Villa supporter would have had on their bingo card for Emi Buendia and for Matty Cash to be up there with the best players for Aston Villa this season.
Well, if you go back to our Aston Villa season predictions, you would have seen that I said Emi Buendia was the dark horse this season to be
I know you said that. I know, but you didn't have Matty Cash. Let's just put it there.
No, I will put my hand up and say I did not have Matty Cash. I will absolutely put my hand up on that. But I'm taking full credit for Emi Buendia. Absolutely. Okay?
You're never going to let us live that down, mate.
Oh, absolutely not. I've even kept the receipts for when you do that season review thing as well, Rich. I know exactly what you're thinking. Yeah. I just thought that when he had that, obviously, the loan move to Bayer Leverkusen, the last season, not the summer gone, the summer before, he didn't really get a preseason due to his ACL injury. He was falling behind fitness-wise, and that's something as a player, regardless what level you play, is always a struggle. You need to find some sort of rhythm. And although he didn't play much for Leverkusen, but he still kind of got as better game time as what he would have probably got at Aston Villa. And then there was a whole talk in the summer, whether is he going to go out on loan again. I put out a tweet saying I hope he doesn't, with a video montage of how he was actually playing in pre-season, and it actually caught quite a good reception of people going, wow, actually, when you kind of put that into context, yeah, maybe he probably should be staying and giving us a little bit more. And that's exactly what he's done. He's really given us everything. He's given us 100%. I know some fans would say, including yourself, Rich, will say, oh, he just runs around. It's not enough for us. We need better players. Better in the position. But look at him now. He's absolutely performing to 100%. He's up there, one of the best players this season for me. Now, with Matty Cash, I'll hold my hand up and absolutely say I did not have him up there. But I wouldn't expect him to be crap either. That it's one of them 50-50 things. You know what you're going to get with Cash. That's what I always thought it was going to be. But this season, he has been able to do absolutely everything. And I think the games have kind of fallen into his hand a little bit. He's come up against wingers where, right, this game is 1v1 defending, or this game I get to go up a bit more. But then when there's been the mixture games, the likes of the Fulhams, the Burnleys, even Bournemouth there the weekend, he was able to kind of do a bit of everything. Contain Semenyo. He was able to bomb down the wing like the ball from Kamara. And he identified the run straight away. First time Kamara puts that in. And Matty Cash, for the life of me, I've never seen that before, for him to just bomb as an overlapping fullback. And he took it in his stride, and the keeper got caught in no man's land. Right idea that he had, the wrong execution, unfortunately. But the idea was there, and that's what you have to appreciate. He's been fantastic. Defending's been good. When he pocketed Doku, he pocketed Semenyo. We Josh King. He might have struggled a bit for the first 10-15 minutes against King from Fulham. But as the game went on, King got very quiet. All the wingers that he's come up against so far this season have been very quiet. He's done his job to 100%. And once he contained those wingers, he started to grow more confidence going forward, saying, right, I have you in my pocket. I know you're not doing much today. I'm going to bomb forward. Here comes. You look after him for me, will you? And that's exactly what's happened. And he's just been absolutely incredible. I think Buendia and him are the first two names on the team sheet that should be the season, and potentially battling out for player of the season. That much statement I'm going to make.
I don't have you wrong, mate. I think Ezri Konsa's been excellent. I think Kamara has been excellent as well. People have said in the chat, but absolutely for a turnaround as well. And look, I don't think any Villa fan could have been forgiven, Dan, for saying they didn't maybe think that Emi Buendia had it in him to kind of cut it right now for Aston Villa, whether that be via ability or via injury or via just looking for a fresh move. You know, Unai Emery himself had said, I don't think we're going to have a place for you in the team and you can look for another club. But fair play to him. And it is still, you know, Villa fans want to see these players do well. It's certainly not I don't hate the fact that he's playing well because he's doing really well. It's just that I don't think any Villa fan could have been forgiven for saying, do you know what? I don't think it's worked out for him. And then if you look at Cash, you know, he's always been the fall guy, hasn't he? And he's always been the player who's maybe been there to make that mistake or to do this or to do that. But this season, I can't say anything else. He's been fantastic, and I think being able to kind of have a consistent back four or back five, you know, I know Mings has played the odd game, but generally to have it as Martinez in goal, Cash, Konsa, Torres, and Luka Dean, that really does help a lot, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I think football fans are the most fickle people you'll ever come across. But yeah, I think you watch it now and you sort of Buendia playing like he's playing. You're like, well, what was the need for Sancho? What was the need for Elliott? But at the time, they made those purchases because Villa fans were crying out for someone else who could play in that sort of winger, sort of a number 10 role, and he was probably over the last 18 months to 2 years unproven because of his injury. We didn't see him much. He went to Leverkusen, didn't play a huge amount, but scored a couple of goals. So, yeah, and I think that's the next, you sort of, as a football fan, you're always looking for the next best thing, which is why we sort of, well, we need someone else to play there because Buendia hasn't really shown it. He's going to take time. I don't think he's up to scratch, but he's keeping those players that whether it was Emery or Monchi or whoever, with regards to your Sancho and your Elliott, with his performances, he is keeping those players out. And I again saw something on. I don't do fancy football because basically I'm shit at it. But
I've given up, mate, as well. I always start off for the first 3 weeks, and then I'm like, nah, I can't be bothered anymore.
There was something about well, there was something that Emi Buendia was something like picked by 1.6% of managers or whatever that is. And you look at his game weeks, and again, I'll probably get this wrong. Someone in the comments will probably tell me, but it was something like game week 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, 10, and 11. He's had a goal or an assist, and you're like, he's one of the most valuable fantasy Premier League players because he's popping up with a goal or assist.
Yeah. And he wouldn't have cost very much at the start of the season, would he? So
he's. I said to the guy behind me, he's been like a new signing this season because again we've not obviously bought him in or anything, but he's been playing because he's been a bit of an unknown substance for the last 18 months, 2 years with injury and what have you. But he's been a great addition, and yeah, with Cash, I think we do like a scapegoat, don't we? And he's done what he's needed to do. Albeit, yes, he hasn't got a huge amount of competition in that space, but he's still got to perform because we've got people like a Bogard that could play right back, and Konsa could if he really needed to. But I think his sort of role suits the Emery system. I don't want to go into a full tactical debrief about Emery and how he plays, but the way that Cash has been playing of late reflects what he did at Villarreal, where he had a back four, but one of, I can't remember who he had at Villarreal, but his left back was the one who bombed forward. And I know Dean still gets forward at times, but you tend to see Cash being the one that tends to try and bomb forward more often than not, whereas you then got the three defenders and maybe a Kamara dropping in. So that, I think, because again, that all comes down to coaching, not just the player, but actually he's got faith in the players behind him, next to him, in front of him. That actually, if he bombs forward, he's not going to leave the whole left hand, right hand side empty. So, but yeah, been again another another player that's probably exceeded a lot of Villa fans' expectations so far this season.
Yeah, 100%. Let's just get some comments in. John said, I bet clubs are kicking themselves for not buying Buendia now. And we've got comments saying that Leeds were interested and other clubs as well interested. Ange says, so pleased. Yeah, Leeds, yeah. So pleased for MEB getting a call up to the Argentina team again. Absolutely. Hopefully he doesn't get anything bad happening. Rob says Cash must have been working a lot on his technique too, seeing him complete multiple long passes that he wouldn't have been able to even dream about last season. But one of them in the Tottenham game was unreal, wasn't it? So absolutely. Gary says Buendia has bulked up. He stays on his feet now. And Weston said he's always backed Buendia too, to the annoyance of his eldest lad who had written him off ages ago. And yeah, Duncan said, let's have some recognition for Emi Buendia. We have the player we thought we'd signed a few seasons back, finally fit and up and running. And Weston also says Cash and Buendia have been inspirational this season. So it's real love for those two players. And like I said, I did think we needed to kind of call them out, because across this last month or two, and even before that, you know, before we started to kick into gear, that those two were playing well anyway, particularly Cash right from the start of the season. So yeah, absolutely. I think we'll talk Unai before we go on to sort of the contract talk and this week's news. 3 years of Unai Emery, Martin. He walked into the club after we lost 3-0 to Fulham. Steven Gerrard was sacked. Then we had a couple of games with, what was his name again? Aaron
Danks.
Aaron Danks, yes, beating Brentford. Was it 4-0? And then losing to Newcastle 4-0. two ends of the spectrum. But right since that day, Unai Emery walked in the club. We got the victory against Manchester United, and I think right from that game you saw a head coach who meant business, a head coach that could quickly implement a style of play that was effective and could win games and suited the players that he had. And then to see these players predominantly signed previous to Unai Emery take on board his ideas, improve as footballers, finish 7th, finished 4th, finished 6th, get to the quarterfinals of the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League, quarterfinals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the FA Cup. I know we've had disappointments. I know we've had tricky times. I know we've criticised players. But when I've just listed that out, I don't think any Aston Villa supporter could have ever dreamed about that level of consistent performance when he walked in the door. So what an amazing job Unai Emery's done, Martin.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty nicely there, to be fair. I just think, like, when that first game of Manchester United came, and I happened to be at that game because for some reason the way I've done it, I saw Dean Smith's first home Premier League game. I then seen Gerrard's first home Premier League game, and then I seen Unai Emery's first home Premier League game. But when I saw Emery's first home Premier League game, the level in the passing, the level in the intensity was beyond and above any manager I have seen before Aston Villa. And he was only in the door probably a week. And you're just talking the detail that he has. I know he has these long meetings with the players, which they've all been open about, but clearly they were needed for us to elevate the game that we're looking to get to. And for me personally, I just think that he's been the best manager, I think, in the Premier League era that we've ever had. You might say it could be Ron Atkinson, you could say John Gregg, you could say Martin O'Neill. They all be up for debate. But for me, it's Unai Emery. European football 3 years running. You get into FA Cup semi-finals, Conference League semi-finals, Champions League quarter-final, and you beat the team at home who went on to win it. And we very could have nearly have won that game. And for me, Unai Emery's come in, he's had this philosophy, he's been cutthroat players who has not been good enough for him. He said, right, no space for you, gone, you come in. And that's what he's done. He's brought in such a solid foundation to how we play. And I think it's not just how we play. I think it's the mannerism that he's given the players as well. They all talk so well in front of the camera. They behaved so well. It's almost as if like he set up a culture at the club that this is how you act if you play for Aston Villa, not just on the pitch but off it. So those are the things that I value most about Unai Emery. Not just the fact of what he's doing on the pitch, but what he's done off it. He's created a culture at Aston Villa that all the fans can get behind, that all the players can get behind. Of course, the staff, the boards can look at and go, yeah, this is the Villa we've wanted. This is the Villa that we've needed. And I'm glad that Unai Emery is at the helm for all of it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Hitting the nail on the head. And better than me. That was really good summing up, mate. Absolutely. And Dan, from your perspective, and Stephen's asked the question there, have we ever had a better 3 years for entertainment, wins, or class?
I mean, again, this in itself is another topic we could have a 2-hour fans forum about Unai Emery and how good he's been, certainly in terms of structure and methodology compared to what we had or what we didn't have under Gerrard, should I say. It just sort of, we were waiting for those, what did he used to call them in interviews, moments of magic.
Moments of magic.
Like, well, yeah, and you just like, Coutinho isn't going to pop up. Well, your mate's not going to pop up with moments of magic every single game. And there wasn't really much of a, I don't know, there wasn't really much of a plan. And again, I get sort of, I know I'm not being paid by Guillaume Balaguer to promote his book, but if you that book talking about Emery and his whole sort of that was a real statement by the owners to go out and get Emery and say, right, we want this club to improve. That's who we want. And we're going to do everything we can to get him. And it wasn't just him, because then you've got the likes of Vidigani came, and then he's got all his various coaching staff. It wasn't, we'll just get him as the coach and he can work with what we've got. It was sort of Neil Cutler, great sort of rapport with the fans, working with Martinez. People were sort of hoping he stayed. I think he started, he stayed for a little bit, but then Emery was like, thanks for your work, but I've got my own guy that I want. So he's been given the keys to the castle, and just looking at some of his stats. So he's had 156 games in charge of Villa, and he's won 84 of them, which and we've averaged 1.8 points per game. And if you just taking away from Villa and looking at every single team that he's coached, going back to Sevilla. So this is points per game in the whole of his career. 1.78 with Sevilla, 2.42 with PSG, but that's always going to be a bit higher. 1.85 with Arsenal, 1.78 with Villarreal, and 1.8 with Villa. So just sort of, that's since 2013. So that's 12 years, and he's averaged pretty much 2 points per game in every single club. And it's not just, okay, PSG, you could say, well, they had all that they had. Neymar, they had Mbappe, but he's averaged not far off 2 points a game with the likes of Villarreal, who were a small club who overachieved, but had the coach, the right systems in place, and that's what it is, a coach rather than a manager. So someone who actually improves players. So you look at all those teams, it's not just a fluke that he's got 2.42 points a game at PSG. He's averaged 2 points for 12 years.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's he knows what he wants. He's got the support of the club. He's got the team around him. He's got a club that love him, fans that love him, and a lot of players that working with him. And I know we'll get on to Morgan Rogers, but you've got players who really have a belief in him that he is going to improve them. So, yeah, a great 3 years, and long may it continue. But we know these things don't last.
No, I'm sure he's going to be here for a little while longer yet. And for me, just to, I've got one more question for you in a second, Martin. But for me, I also love the fact that he's done what he said he's going to. He's done what he said he's going to do. like he said that he wanted to turn Villa Park into a fortress again. He said he wanted to bring the glory days back to the home fans. He wanted to get the fans behind the club. And if you look at the home record that we've had since he's been at the club, it's unbelievable. Like, we literally go to Villa Park now expecting to win and expecting to beat any team. It doesn't matter who they are. You know, we've beaten Arsenal, Man City, PSG. We've drawn against Liverpool. You know, we've beaten Bournemouth 4-0. We've beaten Brighton 6-1. You know, with all these results that we've had at home, and then that just takes off so much pressure when you go away from home. And I know we could probably be better away from home. There's certainly times when we could have been, but to do that and then to keep that points per game level average up, to kind of have to get us into European football every season as well, which is another thing that he said he's going to do. You know, he delivers on what he said he's going to deliver. And, you know, Christos says there, 3 years under Emery, we were fourth in the Premier League in points. Realistically, with the financial restrictions we have, we could not do better. Yes, we've had some disappointment in cups, but he's brought back belief. And that's exactly what he's done. He's said that he's done what he said he's going to do on so many occasions. My only question, just to finish off on this little section, Martin, is I think Scotty said there, you know, is he a great, or would he have to? Does he have to necessarily win a trophy to become a great? I'm certain that when he does win a trophy, that's it. He can just pack up and go home. The statue will be being made. But is he a great? Can he be classed as a great yet for Villa, or does he need that trophy in the cabinet?
Look, you could argue that he probably does need that trophy in the cabinet, but for me, I think he's been great regardless. Not just for the fact of like what he's performing on the pitch, but it's often for me. I mean, when you look at other managers that have come in, how many managers that have come in have had an influence off the pitch in terms of the culture that he's setting at the club? Like, you know, for me, Martin O'Neill, he had 11 great players, 2 players on the bench, but what culture did he really set? You know, you could argue maybe Dean Smith actually probably did have a bit of a good culture at the club. You look at John Gregory, did he create really a good culture at the club? He was one of those who probably more focused on the football. Ron Atkinson was probably the same at those eras. But when you look at Unai Emery, the culture he's creating around the club, people look forward to going to Villa Park. People talk about Villa now in a positive manner. He is saying to his players, this is how you act off the pitch. And if you do not follow these simple rules, you are not an Aston Villa player. It's not just about how you perform on the pitch. Yes, that's 99% of it. But that 1% is a very big 1% that actually overcomes the other 99 for the simple basis of this is how you act as a person, as a man. For this football club, you are representing Aston Villa wherever you go in the media, wherever you go in the street. You could be shopping in Aldi, you could be shopping in Marks and Spencer's for all I care. You represent Aston Villa in a certain manner while you're under contract at this club. And when you are under contract at this club, this is how you act. And if you do not abide by these rules, you are not an Aston Villa player, you will be sold. So for me, I think that the culture he set at the club makes him a great. Whether he has a trophy or not, I know some people will look at that and go, it's all about trophies. And they're absolutely right to say that. They have absolutely every right to say that. I'm not saying it's wrong. But what I am saying is, look at every single manager we've had to Unai Emery. The culture, the setup. This man, for me, is the best Aston Villa manager we've ever had.
Yeah. No, I think he's certainly well up there. But I do. I think a trophy in that cabinet, and I'm pretty confident. Where we'll see where we are in February, March time with this Europa League and with the level of where we are in the Premier League, and I think we'll be. I think the Europa League, we've got a hell of a chance of winning that competition. I really do. And with the squad that we've got as well. And if we can strengthen in January, I think we've got a real chance at it. So yeah, I mean, you could pack up and go home, like I said before, with if he puts a trophy in the cabinet, and that is the next step, isn't it? That mentality, that mental shift from the semi-final. And I do kind of feel that if we do win a semi-final this season, I think the final is put to bed. I think we just get that because almost winning that semi-final is almost more difficult than winning the final. Just that mental hurdle for Villa to get over. So, yeah, it's just been a phenomenal 3 years. When you think about so many of the wins, so many of the games, so many of the moments, it's just been fantastic. And to have a coach who coaches a certain system, to see the players operating well in that system, to see how they've improved, to see goals that have come about from moves that have clearly been practiced on the training pitch, is just it's just that's what you pay money for. That's why players are paid more money than sense. That's why your coach is paid to do the hard yards, like to actually coach the players, not just be like, pull your boots on, lads, and tie your shoelaces and and roll with sleeves up. That's not what they're paid money to do. So yeah, absolutely brilliant 3 years. So many comments coming in. I can't get through them all, but generally just so happy about Unai Emery, and absolutely fully deserved. Just to round up the show, round off the show, we did. It's been a last few weeks of contracts and contract renewals, and it was kind of teased in the press, Dan, for a couple of weeks that Morgan Rogers was negotiating a contract, and early talks had been announced that he was just in the early stages of talking about a contract, and nothing had been concrete yet. And then it was like, oh, it looks like he's going to be offered a sort of double your money, 150K a week contract extension and long-term deal. But it still wasn't it was still very much at the early stages. And then we're getting David Ornstein, we're getting Jacob Tanswell, and then all of a sudden we're getting the club announcing it, and it's done. It's kind of how Villa do these things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was after, again, who knows what was being done in the summer and whether anyone was coming in for him, but who knows. But I think, clearly a player that Emery really likes, and really good to tie him down on a bit of a longer contract, because then at least if someone does want him, they're going to have to pay the money for him. I think Vidagani posted something after he signed the contract about sort of, it was only last January in Middlesbrough, that obviously they'd done a lot of sort of work, and even when he signed, I've seen comments, it might even have been that I've seen coming through tonight or somewhere online, that Middlesbrough had our pants down for 8 million, because realistically I knew nothing about him. He came in and he looked like that sort of, he had that rawness, and he first couple of games I was a bit like not completely sold, but again another player that if Emery identifies him as someone that he wants, that he'll come good. And 86 games he's played for the Villa now, and 18 goals, and it seems like he's played for the Villa for a lot longer than 19 months. I think he signed February 2024. Because he played that many games now. You think nearly 100 games he must have been playing for 3 years. But obviously with all the competitions we played in, he's featured heavily in a lot of those. But yeah, good to get him tied down on for a few more years. And certainly starting to put in those performances of late that we got to expect from Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, definitely. Martin, just a few words from you on Morgan getting back to some of his better form at the minute, starting to look more comfortable, certainly given a lot of space in the game against Bournemouth, which he really appreciated. And what on the contract sort of side of things, are you imagining a release clause in there somewhere?
There always is going to be that speculation. Is there a release clause? Who is going to trigger it? My hope is there isn't one. That's my only hope. I think he should be around here for the long haul. He's doubled his money. He's performing really well. He's an absolutely key figure to Aston Villa, and I think that when we signed him, I was exactly like you, Dan. I didn't really know much about him, and the whole chant of all Middlesbrough have had Villa's pants down for the 8 million or whatever how much it was that we bought from him. But now look at the other way around. It was Villa that had actually Middlesbrough's pants down. They should have asked for more. So look, I just think he's been absolutely exceptional. For me, he's been quality all around. He got Young Player of the Year for last season, and it just goes to show. And I hope he can keep it up because he really has a high ceiling, doesn't he? Like he looks like he's going to be one of those players that is going to be on the top echelon of players, and hopefully we can keep him for the long haul. Because I think right now, on the form that he's going on, I think he's probably one of the 4 seats on the plane for England going to the Euros.
Yeah, definitely. Kev says he thinks 100 million clause for Rodgers. And I wasn't going to read this, Rachel, but she's put PSR isn't the problem. SCR is the problem. There will be a sale, in brackets, Rodgers, cough, cough. So,
okay, Rachel, I'm going to stop you there, right? Now, look, I know you're a long-term fan of this podcast, right? And I love you to bits. I'm not saying I don't, but less of that now. Careful now. Down with this sort of thing.
Let's not be saying that.
This sort of thing. Don't use that now.
Yeah. No, it's there's going to be some wheeling and dealing, I'm sure. But whatever happens, it's great to protect the asset that we've got and to put these players on contracts. And I think a lot of people in the comments saying Konsa should be another one next in line for improved terms and another deal, because he is up there with the best defenders in the Premier League right now. I know he wasn't quite as good as he's put under a bit more pressure on Sunday than he might have liked. Certainly the first half. Second half, I think he was kind of back to his best, but he's been a phenomenal player this season and over multiple seasons for Villa. So yeah, Konsa's up there with the best. But boys, I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been a really, really good show. It's been a really good month or so for Villa since the last international break, and I hope, and I'm sure you boys hope, that we can continue that momentum after the international break into the Christmas period, where it does really start to heat up. So we've got the squad to do it, and I think we're in much more positive frame of mind now going into that time. So yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you, boys. Thank you, Dan. Follow you at the Villa Home. Thanks, Martin. Follow Martin at the Emerald Lion 1874. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and all your banter, all your chat. I can see all the comments coming through. There's so many, and great to get so many opinions on various players in the chat. We've got more shows coming up. I'm hoping to do a bit of a special show on Sunday, so please keep your eyes peeled for that one. If you want to catch up on the Academy, a brilliant episode with Charlie, aka Academy AVFC, I recorded yesterday. I released that this morning. So please do catch that if you haven't already. Really good update and potential for one or two of those players to potentially step up into the first team if the chance arises. There's a lot of really good players in the academy at the minute. So please do catch that one. But hopefully going to do a bit of a talking tactics roundup with Gareth if I can. But loads of shows to come. So please do stick with the channel. Please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button on your way out if you haven't already. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.